Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz.
It's time!
All season long and even in the off season. It's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it!
Thank heavens the All-Star weekend is firmly in the rear view. We are 48 hours away from a real Jazz basketball game again. That's right. I want to see what goes on after Keontae George may have figured some stuff out on last Thursday night's game before the All-Star break against the Warriors. They fell, of course, to the Warriors, but man, JJ, it was a freaking game, man. And they actually came back in that fourth quarter, and it was awesome. Tim LaComb was right there in the studio for pre-half and post-game. I got to do it that night with him. That was fun in itself, just to be able to learn at the feet of old Tim LaComb. Coach, what's going on? Thanks for being on the program.
I think you just said learn at the old feet of one Tim LaComb.
The old feet.
Better, man.
I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird you're barefoot in the studio.
Old feet better than smelly feet.
Yes, correct. No, great to talk to you guys. It's been a nice little break for everybody involved, and still got a couple days yet. But yeah, I think that game prior to the break was really kind of a godsend. I think, Keontae, things just came together for him. He's a much better shooter than he shot the ball this year, and you can say that about most rookies. Mm-hmm. But I think what we saw was something that can happen. And, you guys have played a couple things on sound that the move to this is to play the younger guys, analyze what the Jazz have, but by no means are they going to roll over. And I thought their fight the other night was really great to see.
Yeah, Will Hardy's that guy, too, who will not allow a team to get into a space where they're like, well, we're just fighting through this season and ownership wants to get a great, first-round pick. It's like that's not the way he rolls. So what would you anticipate if you have a singular game like that with your rookie, with Keontae? Is there really something in one game that you can go, dude, this light is starting to switch for you in that game where you start to figure some stuff out about yourself?
Yeah, I just believe that it's time out on the floor. I mean, there's no substitute for those reps. And, to play a really quality team that was a little warped. They were a little frustrated about the night before, meeting the Warriors, the way they lost that game. They played every one of their dudes, and the Jazz were right there, and so I really liked the resolve, the fight. There's going to be rough nights, but I promise you this team will fight. And the one thing for sure is I have not seen any iteration of the Jazz since Will Hardy took the team that has led me to believe that he can't make the best situation out of the group of guys he has, because I think that's what he's done.
Before we move forward with the Jazz after the All-Star break, we have to talk about the All-Star weekend. Maybe we don't.
Have to?
Maybe we don't. But let's. I'm dying to get your take because I know you probably loved it as much as we do, which is not at all. If we all agree the All-Star weekend and the All-Star game specifically are broken, how do we fix it?
I don't know. I think the game's changed so much. I mean, at one point it was just an honor and to go play, and you wanted to play well because you had a reputation. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars have changed that. And obviously you don't want to have a situation where somebody goes out there in the middle of a stretch run and, as you guys said, have a devastating injury. So I'm not quite sure. I thought about was maybe splitting guys up into teams of 3-on-3. 3-on-3 basketball is so fun. And you really, you don't got to run up and down the floor. You just play on one side. But I've maybe thought about something like that, maybe put a couple of different things together, but a 3-on-3 being part of it. I did not watch the dunk contest. I didn't see one dunk. I watched Lowry shoot because I wanted to see that, and I thought he did great. Outside of that, I watched zero zip nada of the All-Star weekend.
Wow.
So who's your MVP then?
What's that?
I was saying, well, so who was your MVP of the All-Star weekend? No.
Well, you didn't watch Draymond Green's analysis on Sunday?
I've seen the clips, right? And that I got a little irritated because, again, you're going to have a league from time to time. Sorry, Draymond, you're going to have it in a small market, smaller market. And I loved Coach Adam Silver's comment at the end. I had to have been in response because he made a comment about Indiana's owning the team for 41 years. And we know, what you have to do to try to make something viable in a small market. And I think they've done a hell of a job. So it's just, to me, it just shows the lack of understanding of the moment. People want to talk about Charles Barkley, but I'll tell you one thing, Charles is really smart. And he picks and chooses his battles. Draymond just wants to fight the whole club.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, a guy who, the guy went to school in East Lansing, right? It's like,
I've been there. Not great.
Well, no, not just that. Like, you got to understand, like, come on, small markets are a little bit of where, everybody else is from. Not everybody's going to play in San Francisco. Not everybody's going to be able to play in L.A. or New York. Like, obviously, it is a tone deaf situation, but that's kind of Draymond. So there you go. All right, let's talk a little bit about the next part of this season here. What are the goals that Will Hardy has for his guys? We already know he's going to want them to play hard and to kind of give up, or not give up, to kind of give it up for one another every night. You got to sacrifice on the floor. Obviously, the passion's a big thing for him, and he's going to ask guys to work freaking hard. That's his signature. So, what is the successful next 26 games or whatever it ends up being? What's the next version of success for this Jazz lineup?
Well, I think number one is to continue to evaluate guys that are on the roster and under contract. Huge part of that is playing your young guys. And we've seen now Keontae have a really big night. I promise you we'll see Taylor really grow in the next 20-plus games. And there was a stretch in that Warriors game that I thought he came in and really looked good, looked comfortable. But again, minutes are going to be a little up and down, and I think we just have to know that this is part of the ongoing process. But so I'd say play your young guys. I believe, like what Will said, I think the expectations will be to play hard every night. This staff is tremendous. Watching them from a distance, the way that they put their guys in a position nightly to be in the game. And then it's really up to the guys. Turnovers have been an issue. So can they do a better job of decision making and get the turnovers down? Again, they are. What are they out of the play-in game right now? They're out 2.5 games out. So I think the mindset is do your best. Know that some nights it's going to be stacked against you. But with a young group, this is a really good opportunity to get some. Not just reps that don't mean anything, but reps that are, in the middle of trying to take the next step as an organization.
The Jazz are in a weird spot for the rest of this season, being that they're probably not good enough to get the play-in, and they want to. But it's beneficial for the franchise long term to keep this pick and its top 10 protected. You don't want to finish 11th worst in the NBA. So they're in this weird spot. How do they handle that, Tim? And how hard is that for Will Hardy to deal with?
I have no idea how they handle it. I was a marginal college assistant with no salary cap and no implications like that.
It's so complicated.
No, it really is. So I would just say that a lot of bright minds are around it. I think one of the great things about the NBA right now is that there's a lot of really smart dudes in analytics, and so I think what the Jazz do is they proceed with caution. I think they proceed with really good intentions and just kind of see where it goes. But in terms of like figuring out how to put it exactly, my focus has always been just on the development and preparation of a team during off season and season.
Tim LaComb, the coach. You can always hear him pre-half and post games right here on the Jazz Radio Network, and during all, of course, those breakdowns with he and Jake Scott. Phenomenal job you guys do. As you look at it now, and you see, if you were to get into that locker room and ask your guys to do something, what would it be? I keep wondering of who the leader is in this locker room. We saw a little bit of Colin Sexton, trying to buoy up John Collins after that fireball pass that he had into the stands, but I just don't know who the leader is in this locker room. I know we've wondered all season long, and so I know they want Keontae George to be more of a leader. So how do you try to do that with somebody who might not necessarily have those as an actual personality trait? How do you work that into somebody?
I actually think Keontae does. I just think he's been really, I guess, aware of protocol. The NBA is an interesting place, and I think there's something to be said for the guys that came before. I loved hearing him talk about, when he came in to start the first go-round, what he felt like was the team really needed the ball to move. And, he said several times that one of the biggest things he does as he comes across half court is locates where Lowry is, and he understands that it's a real weapon if you put the ball in his hands or you get teams concerned about him. So I like the way he thinks the game, and he's become more comfortable talking with everybody, with veterans, and so I think, again, over the next 20-plus games, there's more of that develops. But I'd like to see the continued support of the veterans. They've all been through processes similar to this. And I think really, as Will says, if they can just scrap together, they can work hard. If wearing the Utah Jazz jersey means something to you every night, then I think this team can really figure out how to take the next step and what the next step is. But these games toward this end of this year, not just in a win and loss perspective, there's way more, that's kind of banking on these 20-plus games. I keep saying 20-plus because it feels so good, that they do 82 of them. It's like, man, we flipped the script.
We always talk about 20. Yeah, we're down in almost the last quarter of the season, so it's going quick. I also have college basketball in my mind, so I got to pick your brain there. March Madness fast approaching. We've been blessed this year. The college basketball in the state is outstanding, as good as it's been in a while. And you look, Utah State and BYU are probably at this point locks for the NCAA tournament. Utah's on the bubble. Hey, Weber State with Dylan Jones, the best player in the state, can make a run up in Boise and get in. Of all these teams, who has the best chance to win a tournament game or go on the deepest run of the four?
Man, it's so interesting. All those years in playing in the tournament, it really is. It's oversaid, but it's true that matchups are everything in that tournament. And you can have a great season and go in there, with a 3 or a 4 and play some whippersnapper team that just maybe presses or does things that you're not great with, and it'll become a nightmare. So it's hard for me to say, but what I will say is I think all the schools, I agree with you guys' premise that Weber State's going to win the Big Sky tournament this year. There's something in the air, right? Yeah. I love Eric Duff, that staff. I mean, you won't find a better group of dudes, and they just battle year in and year out, knowing that their chance really resides no matter what happens all year. Your chance resides during that week. What I think they've done this year up there is I think they've taken the wins and the losses, and I think what they've focused on is getting better as a team. I think they've fixed some things. They went into Eastern Washington. I watched that game, and they played with so much emotion, so much confidence. And Dylan Jones is a game changer. So excited about Weber, and I think they're going to get there. Utah State has a huge one tonight. And I got to go up and do the Boise game with Scotty on the radio. Seriously, one of my cooler moments. Actually, every time I've gone in there, I have not felt right because the whole place is against you. It was so fun to be up there for Stu Morrill's deal. It was so much fun to see the old players roll through. And then it was amazing to see that place rocking. I can only imagine what it's going to be tonight. If I had a helicopter, I'd probably go to Logan. but I'm so tired of driving, I'm going to watch it here. I think the Aggies win tonight, but they've got to have a huge performance from somebody outside of Great Osabor. Mason Falslev was out of his mind against Boise. They play with a totally different level of confidence at home. So I think it's going to be awesome, but I think they win that one tonight, and I think they get in. I just think that they're sound. Same with BYU. I think BYU has been one of the stories, certainly nationally. I heard some guys talking the other night, but I cannot say enough about what kind of job Mark's done there this year. Every single person I knew wrote those guys off.
Yep.
And all they did was show up and work, and they've built it on being unselfish. They play really intelligent basketball. They've twisted the narrative a little bit. So in the WCC, BYU was just like everybody else. We all ran similar stuff. We all had a certain level of athleticism, but it was way more skill-oriented. The Mountain West Conference, however, we were different. We were vastly different. Air Force ran Princeton, and we ran up and down and shot a lot of threes, and everybody else tried to play kind of ISO power ball. So BYU is back in that position where they have a major advantage just in scheme. But it didn't just happen. Like, they changed some things around this year. Offensively, their offense is far better. But what I hang my hat on those dudes is the way they battle physically and guard and rebound. So I think BYU, Utah State, Weber State are in for sure. Utah helped themselves a ton the other night. And they have so much length that in a tournament setting, they can be a nightmare. So my fingers are crossed because I love those guys so much up there. But you guys are dead right. It's been an awesome year for college basketball. It's been one we've needed, I think.
Yeah, agree 100% on that.
Tim LaComb, the coach, he's going to have the pre-half and post call, of course, on Thursday. But before then, we don't want you to think about any basketball that you don't just have to watch on TV and just enjoy, okay? So you don't have to break anything down. Just watch some games on the old tube, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
You know what I'm doing right now? I'm sorting baseball cards.
Hey, you know what?
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Our job's pretty fun, but I'd switch places with you right now.
That's cool.
I just finished, my work day ended, and I've got all these cards to input. But just cool. I just bought a Jackie Robinson 55.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
So,
what's your best card?
Well, I actually drew – so I have all sorts of cards, but I drew a rookie Wembayama this year out of a box.
Wow.
Whoa.
The box cost me $24.99, and it was it wasn't just a base. It was like a numbered to 25.
Nice.
So it's a good card. Let's just put it that way. It could become one of my best friends.
Don't
right?
even breathe on it.
Yeah.
That needs to be in some kind of glass enclosed structure you keep it in.
Absolutely.
Because that's amazing.
Yeah. Then I just bought kind of a side card for Mantle. So we're just putting a little fun deal together. You guys have to come check it out.
All right, that's awesome.
Got to do it. All right, Timmy, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again.
Appreciate you guys. See
there you
ya.
go.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim LaComb. He was telling me about his baseball cards the other night.
Oh, man, that got me going.
So my kids have the app. It's ruined their lives because they have the one you scan the card and it's like, Dad, this one's worth $48. I have $48 in my pocket right now. I'm like, no, you do not. That is. They will find all sorts of cards and they're like, oh, this one sells for up to $68. I'm like, not yours. You had it under your bed and you sat on it.
Your card is only worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it.
Of course.
If your cards were manufactured in the early 90s, they're worthless. Trust me.
Oh, my goodness.
Terribly overproduced. You can still buy NBA Hoops cards brand new.
Oh, for sure.
That's how many they produced
boxes
in 1991.
And boxes, yeah. So stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Just here to check up on you. Now that it's 8 days since the Super Bowl, everything okay? You feeling all right?
I'm not okay.
I'm supposed to check in with my friends who
we
are
had to
football
endure
fans.
that disaster of an All-Star weekend.
and remind me just how bad I miss football.
The thing is when it was here last year, we convinced ourselves this is a great event.
It's fun for fans, and it's fun to have it in your community. But from a spectator standpoint, in the couch, watching it on TV, it's missing. It's very much lacking.
I think we knew, I think as soon as the draft thing happened, the Post Malone concert, I'm talking about Friday and Saturday was kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Those things are fun. Dunk contest, Rising Stars, blah, blah, blah. And we had, obviously, a dog in the fight, right?
Yeah, that helps.
So there's the part 2 where you get to the actual game, and I've told you this before. I mean, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, here we go. This is my first in-person All-Star game. This is going to be amazing. Tip-off, the first play was like a lob alley-oop that went over the backboard. Whistle blows, guys are laughing and high-fiving each other, and I'm like, this sucks. We officially have already had the best part of the weekend. So then when it's in another city, and just count us as last year's Indianapolis, we got. Yeah. I wouldn't say
it was nice to see Indianapolis get bagged on for a change,
yes,
and not just Salt Lake City.
Some boring A city.
I'm glad that Charles Barkley and Draymond Green are equal opportunity haters of small cities.
That's good. So. Yes, no football for 8 days. The countdown is 8 days. It's been 8 days since I've seen a football game, and I'm obviously hating life a little bit. But regardless, there is still always football news.
The draft is right around the corner.
The draft is around the corner. It's gonna keep us floating because I love. It's not just mock drafts. It's mock infinite amount of trade rumors that are to go along with it. Right. The latest one was Justin Fields going to Cleveland as I would guess as a backup to Deshaun Watson because you've already sunk $230 million of guaranteed money. How does that work? That's the weirdest one that I've heard so far. Justin Fields, by the way, Justin Fields could go to any number of places and probably still start. And so sending him to Cleveland just in case Deshaun Watson is not going to be 100%, that's weird to me.
Well, if the Browns are willing to listen to a trade for Deshaun Watson, I've got a quarterback in Denver you might have interest in. And we could actually use Justin Fields. So come talk to the Denver Broncos if that's the case. This is kind of a ridiculous hypothetical trade. Makes no sense to me. I mean, I would think that the team that's going to end up with Justin Fields is the team that I don't know. I think that it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to send him to Cleveland when they've spent, like you say, all this money on Deshaun Watson. The Browns are totally invested in Deshaun Watson, as stupid as that was. They're not going to do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Let me do quarterback roulette.
Okay.
Who has got a future in the NFL? Who has a better future in the NFL? Zach Wilson, Desmond Ridder, or Jaren Hall? Who's got more of an NFL future between those three guys?
That's a tough one.
It looks like the Falcons are moving on from Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, and for good reason. He was
probably
not good.
A little bit of a failed experiment, but the same could be said for Zach Wilson, which of course around here we're all kind of going, yeah, but he got a bad shake at the franchise he was at, which is also true.
But Jaren Hall got a chance last year, and they really needed him to step up, and he wasn't ready. So I'm going to answer Zach Wilson because I have seen enough from him, and I think he does have enough people in the league that believe in him that he's going to get that chance and that opportunity. And he has that golden arm that everyone's looking for that the other two don't quite have as much of. Although Jaren Hall's an underrated, he throws a great outside. I mean, his deep ball is really nice. Zach Wilson.
Okay.
It's no doubt Zach Wilson, and Zach's going to get that opportunity over the other two.
All right, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, or I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do more of these in my head here.
Or Justin Fields?
Or Bryce Young. Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson.
I'm going Justin Fields there, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
The Bryce Young thing's interesting because was his rookie season, we need to keep that in perspective. Right. It was his rookie season, but was he bad because of the team he was on, the coaches he had?
Well, his coach got fired partway through.
He just not good?
Yeah, they gave up on the season real early.
They did. They pulled the plug after 9 games.
Right.
I don't have the answer here. I want to believe that he's still capable of reaching that number 1 overall pick potential. We've seen Baker Mayfield make a comeback, but I'm skeptical. I think that C.J. Stroud was the right guy and the better player, and I think Bryce Young's going to be haunted at no fault of his for the rest of his career because of that decision. It's almost like that Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning situation, right?
Did you see that? The NFL is? We talked a little bit about the flag football format that they're looking at for the 2028 Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Is that a done deal? Is that already in? Okay,
that's done.
Okay, that's a done deal.
That's happening.
So 2028, the league has signed off and said we're cool with NFL players being in the. Which is sad for other countries, right? Like, that's the worst announcement you could have gotten.
Can you imagine France has a defensive back that can cover Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, but is it so specialized like the 3-on-3?
I think Team France would be automatically qualified for the Olympics.
Look, the Netherlands,
it's not in Paris.
The Netherlands was set up really well because they have like a really good backfield.
I feel like the only nation in the world that would have a chance is like Tonga.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But even then, like the thing is that what did we talk about with flag football? What do you need? You need flyers. Like that's kind of it.
It's like glorified 7-on-7, right?
It's like I said, is it kind of akin to the 3-on-3 tournament where you're like, look, Jimmer Fredette's going to win gold in Paris, but he's not going to be a good NFL or a good NBA guy. Is this a little bit like that? I mean, I have a hard time. Maybe there are guys who have specialized so much because if NFL dudes roll off the bunk in LA and just go, oh, I can pull some flags, maybe there's a little bit of a specialized thing there. I'm trying to think again. And is it the kind of thing where you have maybe 2 or 3 teams from each country? Because if that's the case, then we're going to sweep the friggin' podium.
It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be Dream Team versus Angola. Does anybody else in the world? I mean, how would you compete? I don't even know where they would find players. I mean, it's such an American game. It just I like that they're trying to do it, but it's not an internationally played sport. I mean, Canada obviously would be able to. I think Canada would be our best competition, right? They have their own football league.
Oh yeah, they got the guy.
Maybe Australian rules football, so maybe throw Australia in there.
Yeah, you know there's going to be. Oh look, New Zealand will just show up with like half of their
bring their rugby team.
Yeah, and they can do this.
I still don't know who's covering Justin Jefferson, which is the whole point.
My favorite stat from the Angola, I mean, it was the final of that USA-Angola game was like 120 to 45 or something like that. But the best part of that game was there was a 58-1 run by the U.S., which would be a little bit what the flag football situation.
Very similar.
I would just assume it'd be like that. But again, you know what that requires? I know it's only 2024, but that requires us. I'm going to say the rest of the week. We need to come up with more of the perfect 3. Because I don't know how many people are on a flag football team. Is it 8?
Boy, that's a good question. I don't even know the rules officially of what the flag football.
Well, you pull a flag, JJ. That's how you.
Well, I get that part, but like as far as like personnel, I mean, at the Olympic level, I don't know how many guys on each side.
Yeah, the
you'd
football,
have one guy hiking the ball right to the quarterback.
So the
maybe
shape
have one guy in the backfield and.
Is it like when you're playing? Like when you're on the playground when you're a kid and you just go and it's just the quarterback's just holding the ball. Okay, how many players on the flag football Olympic? I don't know what that is. I just don't know how many. Okay, 5 players per team.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Right. So one hikes the ball to the quarterback and the other 3 go out for a pass.
I love this non-contact. Dude, we could put together 10 teams that would be the perfect. I don't know. I mean, the reality is like Justin Jefferson, like you were saying, Christian McCaffrey, Lamar Jackson is your quarterback, obviously.
Right.
You have to have mobility at every position. That's only 3. By the way, that's 3. Yeah. And then I'm throwing in Tyreek Hill. And then who's the 4th?
Just throw out a tight end, Travis Kelce.
No.
Why not?
Because I'm going to go
big body.
Because
sure hands.
I think those same 5 guys have to be the ones who play defense. So then you throw in like a Micah Parsons.
So you would need some. So okay,
Micah Parsons or maybe like a Fred Warner. Fred Warner.
They have to play both ways.
I mean, do you have 10 people on a team and then
15 players maximum?
All right. Yeah. Then
so you could sub in with defensive backs, I believe.
I think you put Mahomes at safety. just to see if he has a skill set there, just to have these guys. That would be the part where we make it fair. We make only defensive players in the NFL play offense, and then the offensive guys have to play defense.
There you go.
Then we'll make it a little bit more official with that. But either way, Roger Goodell signing off on these guys playing in the Olympics is dope.
There you
All
go.
right, so let me see here. Oh, Jimmy Graham is going to row across the Arctic Ocean as
Why?
part of the 2025 Arctic Challenge.
Why?
Because when you're, he's retired, right?
He played last year.
He did. He's on the verge of retirement, right?
Apparently, he's gonna.
Don't you feel like that's
if you're doing activities like that,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
probably done with football.
That's a I'm almost retired situation, and teams sign off on you doing that kind of stuff when you're on the verge of retirement.
I guess so. Well, I don't
Because
understand this.
If he was Dalton Kincaid, do you think the Bills would let him do this? No.
No chance.
So he's going to do this 15 days straight, by the way, to do that.
1,000 kilometers. Wow.
What is that, 75 miles? I'm just kidding.
You're going to ask me to get out my conversion
I'm
chart, and I'm
just
not going to
kidding.
do that.
I'm just kidding.
It's
like,
a long
that's
ways.
That's like 600 miles.
Yeah, that's a long ways. That's crazy.
Well, good for him. And again, like I said, I think that this is look, we're only going to take you seriously on your rowing competition if you end up in the Olympics. That's what I always love when guys are former. By the way, he's joined by former Navy SEAL Andrew Tropp, who's going to be a member also of the USA's rowing team. Can you imagine
I mean,
in the
respect.
boat?
Respect
well,
for
not
doing
only
this.
that, if I'm Jimmy Graham, the only way I'm doing this is if there's a Navy SEAL involved.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, when I go overboard, when I go into a cardiac arrest on the Arctic Ocean, that guy could swim me to the shore, however long that needs to happen. So good for Jimmy Graham. I'm excited about it. Let me see here. Oh, this one I really love, and that is the Giants are not likely to give Saquon Barkley the franchise tag. Is this going to be the end of Saquon Barkley's time in the Big Apple? I certainly hope so for his sake.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think he'll be better off going somewhere else. But it just goes back to a bigger point of the running back position in the NFL is so undervalued. It's not considered a prime position anymore in the NFL, which is crazy to think because we grew up and, what was a big deal? 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. And every team had to have a guy that ran for 1,000 yards. And not anymore. They got to have a quarterback that throws for 4,000 and a receiver that gets 1,600. I mean, Christian McCaffrey led the NFL in rushing this year with 1,200 yards?
Yeah.
We've had 2,000-yard rushing seasons in the NFL. And Derrick Henry, I believe, even did that. So the running back position has changed, and Saquon Barkley, while a star and a big name, isn't going to command the market that he would have even when he came in the league 5 years ago. It's crazy.
If he's on the move, I mean the amount of money that running backs get paid now. Christian McCaffrey's like $11.5 million. He's the best running back in the league,
right?
Because he's a multi-purpose, back,
and that's a lot of money, but relative to other positions, it's not.
It's not. Yeah. All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back. We have our best and worst coming up around the corner. Stay with us right here. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, welcome back. It is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for being with us on the program. Oh, how'd you honor the presidents this weekend, JJ?
Cleaned my garage.
I did too.
Really?
Oh my
It's
gosh!
that time of year.
Normally I'd wait till later, but my kids have been like, we just pile everything in the corner. My kids show up and they're like, "Oh, I need to go in the house. This is good right here." And they just pile it up. And we have a shoe rack that is like the neighborhood embarrassment. So if you drive by my house in the garage, I tell the kids to shut the garage. I'm like, shut the garage on the way out. Not even for the sake of nobody stealing stuff or our 3-year-old escaping, which is very much her deal. But because when you see the shoe rack, it's an embarrassment. It is.
I feel you.
1 million pairs of shoes, and most of them are just piled up in front of the rack. You can't be bothered to put it on it.
Oh, no. That's too.
You have to pile it
that's
up
too much to
in
ask.
front. And Lord knows that I was also ended up at the end of this with about 8 sets of just one shoe. I was like, where are these? And the kids are like, I don't know.
Where's the pairs?
I don't know.
The match?
I'm like, where did the other one go? They're like, I don't know. So, yes, cleaning out the garage was definitely a situation.
It got to a point where my walk from the car to the door in the garage became a walk of shame.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to do something
You're
about
like
this.
shimmying past your own stuff.
I'm
your kids'
stepping
stuff
on things. It's just uncomfortable.
Where's my lacrosse stick, Dad? I'm like, take a wild freaking guess.
You're going to have to look really hard for it.
The pile you threw it on last week. All right, so the best of this week is a twofer because Florida Gators freshman DeAndre Robinson has announced that he has bought his mother a home with the NIL money that he has
That's crazy.
accrued during his 1 year of being a Florida Gator. Now, this is also a double win because it is a massive middle finger to the Heisman Trophy Trust, who I know you're a voter.
Yes.
But I will say, isn't it time to give Reggie Bush?
Please give it back. I'm
When
not
we're-
afraid to say, as a Heisman voter,
When we are celebrating the
I
kids.
advocate for Reggie Bush to get his Heisman back. He didn't kill anybody.
Nope.
And that person that killed somebody still has their Heisman, right?
Well,
Oh, am I
he's on
assuming
the-
too much here?
He's on the list. He's on the list. He does not have his Heisman. I don't know if you remember
Did he
that.
sell it? Did it get
Well,
stolen?
no. Somebody remember that was part of that was sold.
I don't even know.
And then when he tried to steal, when he broke into that hotel room in Vegas,
Yes.
he was trying to get back his stuff. Give me back my
That's
stuff.
right.
Remember that whole thing? That was the Heisman was part
How
of that
did
stuff.
O.J. Simpson find his way on the show today? I apologize. That's my fault.
As a Heisman guy, you're supposed to apologize for the.
I'm not apologizing for
I'm just
O.J. I
kidding.
apologize to the listeners that O.J. Simpson made
came
the
up.
show today.
Well, bottom line is that DeAndre Robinson buys his mom a house. We are celebrating it.
That's awesome.
Reggie Bush's family got rent to live in a house, and it was the worst thing you could have ever committed. Now, that being said, like I said, he's a defensive lineman, by the way. If you're thinking he was a quarterback and any of that, D lineman. Gets himself the that's my dream school. First of all, that's one of the biggest things. They recruited me hard. I know if I go there, it'll be an amazing thing for our situation. Surprising, if you go, there's an actual video surprising my mom with a new house on YouTube.
Cool.
Really cool. So again, awesome for him, but also let's give Reggie Bush his. Not that he needs that.
Agreed.
He's got that Wendy's money. He could force some guy to make like an off-brand Heisman if he wanted to. All right, and then the worst, of course, Rick Pitino. His St. John's team, who is now falling woefully off of the big board of possibly making it to the NCAA tournament, is he didn't just hit weird status when he said that there should be a cap on salaries. He went full on going after his Red Storm after they blew a 19-point lead, and he took to the podium and ripped these kids. Your thoughts on that? Because my
St.
thing,
John's, this is what you got. You knew you got this. You knew who he was when you hired him. Rick Pitino's a bad human being. He's been a wildly successful college coach.
Yes.
Not always doing it the right way. And this is just another example. He's trying old school tactics to motivate his team, whatever. Rick, it's 2024. Saying publicly, this is the most unenjoyable experience I've had since I've been coaching. Well, then why are you there?
I know.
There's so many other young coaches out there that deserve an opportunity.
Isn't that bad?
The program deserves better. But to St. John's, you hired this guy, and you knew who he was when you hired him. So you deserve this.
We are so non-athletic.
The players don't, by the way.
We are so non-athletic, he says. I see people that don't handle the ball. I see people who aren't interested in taking quick shots. It's been a very disappointing year for me.
Isn't that his job? To teach these guys, to get these guys.
What, do you thought he was just going to walk in there
It's
and then
their fault?
Come on.
No, Rick, why don't you, instead of throwing your players under the bus, take responsibility for their issues?
Yeah.
You're the coach. It's on you.
Right.
It's horrific that he's doing this. What a jerk.
Let's take a break here. We'll be back again around the corner. There's so much more to enjoy on the program. JJ and Alex continues 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.